Hello, I'm Michael with Go Be Strong, and today in this video we're going to go over strengths-based development. The key idea here is we want to understand the primary driving philosophy behind strengths-based development versus other personal or team development programs that you might have heard of or worked with or whatever. I want you to have a good understanding of the underpinnings and principles of strengths-based development. So let's get started. The place where the keen insight happened was on a project that the University of Nebraska took on to understand how students could increase their reading speed and comprehension. They looked at 1,000 students and they came up with the average reader in the program who could read 90 words a minute at a satisfactory comprehension level. So then they put them through this new program that they had that they were evaluating, and great news, they got a 50% increase all the way up to 150 words per minute for the average reader. So the program was clearly a great success. If they could take average readers and get a 50% increase, that sounded like a great investment, and it would be great all the way around. But one of the people working on this program was Don Clifton, and he said, hey, you need to look a little closer at the kids that are already good readers, the kids that have a talent for reading. He said, they're already at 350 words per minute. So they're more than double what the average is. And when we took kids that were already good at something and we invested in them and we built up that strength, they went from 350 words per minute to 2,900 words per minute. That's the big revelation in this study. And that's the keen insight that led Don Clifton to say, wow, what if we started to invest in what we're good at instead of trying to just fix weaknesses? So maybe you've seen this exercise before, maybe you saw it in the a previous introductory video that we did, but I'll keep it short. So even if you have already seen it, you can just kind of scoot through it. If you haven't seen it, here's how it goes. I want you to pick up a pencil, and as fast as you can, I want you to write the phrase that you see at the top of the slide here. I use my strengths every day. So I want you to write it 5 times as fast as you can. Ready, set, hang on just a second. Take the pencil and put it in your non-dominant hand. That is, if you're right-handed, put it in your left hand and write, I use my strengths every day 5 times as fast as you can. Go. All right, that's fine. Maybe you only did it once. When I did it, I only did it once, and it came out pretty terrible. I am not good at writing anything in my left hand. I'm not that good in my right hand, but I'm really terrible in my left hand. If you went through this and you now looked at your piece of paper and you looked at the exercise, you probably had a couple of thoughts. One, you weren't very fast. You didn't feel good about it. It wasn't good quality. It was a terrible experience. Now imagine going to somebody on your team and asking them to do something, to solve a problem that, and telling them you got to do it this way. So it wasn't that long ago in this country that we tried to have all kids write with their right hand. And we thought that left-handed was wrong and needed to be taught away from, if you will, sort of cured almost. And that's just not how it is. There are people that have a talent for writing with their left hand, and there are people that have a talent for writing with their right hand. And what we need to do is treat them as different talents and get them to improve so that they have good handwriting and can be good written communicators. So this happens in the workplace too. Typically in a workplace, you will identify areas in a person that need improvement, and then you will develop an improvement plan. And put them to work on it. And when they're done, you come back and you say, thanks, you've gotten better at that, but now we have found other things. I don't know how many times I've heard this in my own career. Mike, you had an exceptional year. Boy, as a salesperson, you were at the top of the charts. Now, here's what we need you to do to be better. We need you to work on these things. You need to do more with expense accounts, and we want more daily reports from you, and we want whatever. And it was stuff that was not related to the task, which was to bring in more sales. And it was a frustrating experience. It's one of the reasons why I like strengths-based programs so much better. Here's how they go about it. They identify talents, and then they develop them into strengths. And then they just keep doing that and building and building and building on that. So in this scenario, a manager would come to me perhaps and say, Mike, you're doing a great job selling. We want to keep selling more stuff. What can we do to help you sell more stuff? And I might say, well, I'm not very good at expense reports, or I'm not really good at filing, doing data entry on projects. And they might say, well, we've got people that love doing data entry. We're going to have them do it. You go sell more stuff. and we want you to keep thinking about how you could sell more and more and more. So this is the fundamental difference between the two sort of programs that are out there, the traditional program that so many of us grew up in versus the strengths-based program, which has been proven in research to be a better way to go. In traditional, you maintain each person's strengths and you try to fix their weaknesses, thinking that you're going to make them more well-rounded and better people. In strengths-based, you focus on their strengths, and then you kind of manage around their weaknesses. I had to do expense reports, but maybe there were ways to simplify it or have somebody help me or have me do them less often or whatever. This is another key idea. The best in a role display the same behaviors. We've seen this too, right? We say, hey, listen, everybody go sell like Joe because Joe sells a lot of stuff and you should do things exactly like Joe does. Well, that's not true. If you look at an organization, the two top salespeople probably have, they could be in a neck and neck race all year long in terms of how many sales they get, but it's very, very likely they're going about it in different ways, right? One of them may be, leveraging their ability to understand technical information and come across as a genuine expert in the product. The other one might have real skills in personal relationships and the ability to build trust and to gain confidence. And they might sell nearly identical amounts, right? 1 year one's ahead, the other's ahead. But they're doing it using different behaviors. Another traditional belief is that most, if not all, behaviors can be learned. That is, if you've found your best salesperson, you could say, we're all going to do this, and I'm going to teach you how to do this. Well, some people can't pick up the personal skills. Other people can't pick up the technical skills. So some behaviors can be learned, but really, it's more a matter of focusing on their strengths. If you just fix weaknesses, all you're going to do is prevent failure. What you really want to do is build your strengths. That's what leads to success. And the research goes on and it says the people who focus on their strengths are 3 times as likely to report an excellent quality of life and 6 times as likely to be engaged in their jobs. 3 times they're more likely to report a better life and 6 times to be engaged in their jobs. Those are huge differences. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the strengths. Here's a sort of a list that you can see. When you get your report, you'll get an in-depth look at all of them. But here's a fascinating thing. You are unique. The chances of the exact top 5 in the exact order is 1 in 33 million. Now, there's 325 million people in the US, which means that there are 10 people who have your top 5 in the exact order. Now, if you just say who's got the same top 5 but in any order, it drops down to about 1 in 1,000, well, 1 in 340,000. That's means there's 1,000 people around the country that, have the same top 5 as you. That's 20 people per state. That shows that you are unique. And the most important thing for you as an owner and manager is your people are unique too, right? That person that you just hired, it's highly unlikely that you've seen someone just like them. Even if they seem like they're going to be a great replacement for the person that left, they may be, but they're going to go about it doing it differently because they're unique. All right. Gallup doesn't call them this, but I do. These are the 9 commandments of strengths-based development. 1, only some behaviors can be learned. Others are natural to you, and you've got them, and some are unnatural. That is, they are just not strengths for you, not talents for you, and try as you might, you'll have a terrible time actually learning them and being able to leverage them. The best in a role deliver the same outcomes using different behaviors, so you have to be open to that. Weakness fixing prevents failure, but only strengths building leads to success. Themes, the talents and the strengths, are neutral by definition. These are just talents that have been identified and then grouped into themes, as we discussed earlier, and they're neutral. They're also not labels, right? So you don't want to say, oh, well, she's got competition, right? That's not how it works. So it's important then to lead with positive intent. And this is one of the reasons why I keep Don Clifton's quote at the end of every one of these videos. It's because I want you to be thinking in a positive way about leveraging strengths. Differences are an advantage, and people need one another. My strengths are good, and I have honed them, and they are more powerful than they used to be. But that means I need people that have other talents to complement my non-dominant strengths. And this one is really important. Clifton Strengths does not tell you what you do well. That is, you can't say, listen, we need an accountant, so go find somebody that's got these strengths because we've identified this is what we want. That's not how it works. They don't tell you what you do well. They tell you how you do things well. So if you've got a great accountant, it's worth understanding his strengths, her strengths, so that you can say, oh, this is what I can do to help them be more and more successful because I now know how they find success. I now know how they do things well. All right, so to sum it up, strengths-based is a different way of thinking, and it's important to lead with positive intent. Weakness fixing only prevents failure. You've got to invest in strengths, and you and your team are very unique. There's not many people like you throughout the country. All right. Coming up next, I've got a few thoughts about the assessment before you take it. I want to help you to get a true reading. Until then, what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? Go be strong. I'll see you in the next video.